Hello, thanks for tuning in to Miss B's audio reads. I am Miss B. Today we're going to read a couple of books that are two of my most favorite books on the planet. One from when I used to be a teacher, and one from when I was a little girl. One of the questions I had asked boys and girls was about your grandparents, if you have any cool memories or things you like to do with your grandparents. And so I was thinking of my Lala, which is what I called her, Lala, Abuela, Lala. She always made you feel like you were the most important person in the room. So when it was time to talk and she wanted to talk about it, she wanted to know all your secrets. She always made you feel like you were the only one there. So it was her birthday last week, and I was thinking about her a lot. And so I thought I would share a memory from good times with my Lala. Levi, my little buddy, he has 3 grandparents that hang out and come play with us. And his Lolo, his Abuelo, when he was little, used to play this game called The Claw, and that was one of his favorite things. And he has his grandmother is Lola. He loves going to the beach with her, he said. And his grandma, Bobby, he likes to play Plants vs. Zombies at her house when he goes over. They have sleepovers when she comes to stay in Asheville. So those are some of his favorite things to do with his grandparents. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to read you Wilfred Gordon McDonald, Partridge. And this is written by Mem Fox, one of my favorite authors. And the illustrations in this are so beautiful. Those are by Julie Vives. So let's go ahead and get started. Wilfred Gordon McDonald, Partridge. If I can open it. There once was a small boy called Wilfred Gordon McDonald Partridge. And what's more, he wasn't very old either. His house was next door to an old people's home, and he knew all the people who lived there. He liked Mrs. Jordan, who played the organ. He listened to Mr. Hosking, who told him scary stories. He played Mr. Tippett, who was crazy about cricket. He ran errands with Miss Mitchell, who walked with a wooden stick. He admired Mr. Drisdale, who had a voice like a giant. But his favorite person of all was Miss Nancy Allison Delacourt Cooper, because she had 4 names, just as he did. He called her Miss Nancy and told her all his secrets. One day, Wilfred Gordon heard his mother and father talking about Miss Nancy. "Poor old thing," said his mother. "Why is he a poor old thing?" asked Wilfred Gordon. "Because she's lost her memory," said his father. "It isn't surprising," said his mother. "After all, she is 96. What's a memory?" asked Wilfred Gordon. He was always asking questions. "It is something you remember," said his father. But Wilfred Gordon wanted to know more, so he called on Mrs. Jordan, who played the organ. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something warm, my child, something warm." He called on Mr. Hosking, who told him scary stories. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something from long ago, me lad, something from long ago." He called on Mr. Tippett, who was crazy about cricket. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something that makes you cry, my boy, something that makes you cry." He called on Miss Mitchell, who walked with a wooden stick. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Oh, something that makes you laugh, my darling, something that makes you laugh." He called on Mr. Drysdale, who had a voice like a giant. "What's a memory?" he asked.
"Something as precious as gold, young man. Something as precious as gold."
So Wilfred Gordon went home again to look for memories for Miss Nancy because she had lost her own. He looked for the shoebox of shells he had found long ago last summer and put them gently in a basket. He found the puppet on a string, which always made everyone laugh, and he put that in the basket too. He remembered with sadness the medal which his father had given him, and he placed it He remembered with sadness the medal which his grandfather had given him, and he placed it gently next to the shells. Next, he found his football, which was as precious as gold. And last of all, on his way to Miss Nancy's, he went into the hen house and took a fresh, warm egg from under a hen. Then Wilfred Gordon called on Miss Nancy and gave her each thing one by one. "What a dear, strange child to bring me all these wonderful things," thought Miss Nancy. Then she started to remember. She held the warm egg and told Wilfred Gordon about the tiny speckled blue eggs she had once found in a bird's nest in her aunt's garden. She put a shell to her ear and remembered going to the beach by tram long ago and how hot she had felt in her button-up boots. She touched the medal and talked sadly of the big brother she had loved, who had gone to the war and never returned. She smiled at the puppet on strings and remembered the one she had shown to her sister and how she had laughed with a mouthful of porridge. She bounced the football to Wilfred Gordon and remembered the day she had met him and all the secrets they had told. And the two of them smiled and smiled because Miss Nancy's memory had been found again by a small boy who wasn't very old either. And that is Wilfred Gordon McDonald Partridge by Mem Fox. I love that book so much. The next book I wanted to read to you today is called Abuela. Abuela means grandmother in Spanish. Abuelo is grandfather. Remember we talked about the A's and the O's? So this one is about an abuela, and I love this abuela. This is a book that I grew up reading. I remember reading it with my mom, and I was looking for my copy of it and I couldn't find it. And so I went and bought another copy, and I'm so glad I did. It makes me so happy. It brings me good memories. And I love that there's Spanish sprinkled in here, but you can tell what they're saying because of the illustrations and the English that's in there. So this is called Abuela, and it's by Arthur Dorros, illustrated by Elisa Clevin. Abuela takes me on the bus. We go all around the city. Abuela is my grandma. She is my mother's mother. Abuela means grandma in Spanish. Abuela speaks mostly Spanish because that's what people spoke where she grew up before she came to this country. Abuela and I are always going places. Today, we're going to the park. El parque es lindo, says Abuela. I know what she means. I think the park is beautiful too. Tantos pájaros, Abuela says, as a flock of birds surrounds us. So many birds. They're picking up the bread we brought. What if they picked me up and carried me away? High above the park, what if I could fly? Abuela would wonder where I was. Swooping like a bird, I'd call to her. Then she'd see me flying. Rosalba the bird, Rosalba el pájaro, she'd say. Ven, abuela, come, abuela, I'd say. Sí, quiero volar, Abuela would reply, as she leaped into the sky with her skirt flapping in the wind. We would fly all over the city. Mira, Abuela would say, pointing. And I'd look as we soared over parks and streets, dogs and people. That picture has a lot going on. We'd wave to the people waiting for the bus. Buenos dias, we'd say. Buenos dias, good morning, they'd call up to us. We'd fly over factories and trains. And glide close to the sea, cerca del mar. We'd say, we'd almost touch the tops of waves. Abuela's skirt would be a sail. She would race with the sailboats. I'll bet she'd win. We'd fly to where the ships are docked and watch people unload fruits from the land where Abuela grew up. Mangos, bananas, papayas. Those are all Spanish words. So are rodeo, patio, and burro. Maybe we'd see a cousin of Abuela's hooking boxes of fruit to a crane. We saw her cousin Daniel once unloading and loading the ships. Out past the boats in the harbor, we'd see the Statue of Liberty. Me gusta, Abuela would say. Abuela really likes her. I do too. We would circle around Liberty's head and wave to the people visiting her. That would remind Abuela of when she first came to this country. Vamos al aeropuerto, she'd say. She'd take me to the airport where the plane that first brought her landed. Cuidado, Abuela would tell me. We'd have to be careful as we went for a short ride. Then we would fly to Tío Pablo's and Tía Elisa's store. Pablo is my uncle, my tío. And Elisa is my aunt, my tía. They'd be surprised when we flew in, but they'd offer us a cool limonada. Can you guess what limonada is? Yeah, lemonade. Flying is hot work. Pero quiero volar más, Abuela would say. She wants to fly more. I want to fly more too. We could fly to las nubes, the clouds. One looks like a cat, un gato. One looks like a bear, un oso. One looks like a chair, una silla. Descansemos un momento, Abuela would say. She wants to rest a moment. We would rest in our chair, and Abuela would hold me in her arms with the whole sky, our house, nuestra casa. We'd be as high as airplanes, balloons, and birds, and higher than the tall buildings downtown. But we'd fly there too, to look around. We could find the building where my father works. Hola, papa, I'd say as I waved, and Abuela would do a flip for fun as we passed by the windows. Mira, Abuela would say. Look, she's telling me. I do look, and we are back in the park. We are walking by the lake. Abuela probably wants to go for a boat ride. Vamos a otra aventura, she says. She wants to go for another adventure. That's just one of the things I love about Abuela. She likes adventures. Abuela takes my hand. Vamos, she says. Let's go. I wonder where they're going to go now on the boat. This book is a great reminder to be open when you go on walks, to really open up your imagination and try to have fun with it. I still love books like this with magic and cool stuff like that. So thank you for joining me today for a reading of Abuela and Wilfred Gordon McDonald Partridge. Now you know two of Miss B's most absolute favorite books on the planet. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.